and welcome to Mixed Media Menagerie for March. This month we will be joined by guest artist Jane Weston, who you can find on Instagram, Jane Weston Art. We'll also be using stamping, a brayer, and our theme is going to be rainbows, which matches the March kind of St. Patrick's Day spring vibe. And this month is the first month in a long time where I've really felt like wanting to use a lot of color, and I'm pretty sure a rainbow exploded in my journal. So it's a little crazy. It's very bright, but yeah, it's been a while. I think winter time usually leaves me feeling a little like more muted and monotone and not really wanting to play with color, and then some things have kind of just brought me out of that sort of funk and brought color into the forefront again. So here I'm just gluing down some papers that I pulled out. I pulled out some ledger papers and some of these like old receipts that I had gotten. They're just like handwritten with pencil. So I'm just kind of gluing things down kind of hodgepodge to create my background. So the next thing I want to do before I even gesso is to take this art foamy stamp that I have that's like the scribble writing. I'm pretty sure it's a Julie Balzer design. I'm not entirely positive on that, but I think so. And I am using my brayer to put some fluid acrylic in Payne's Gray on the stamp, and I'm just stamping it everywhere because it's going to be, you know, part of that background. And I'm gonna spray it with water. My sprayer is kind of broken, like it's literally broken. There's a hole in it at the top, but it's made it kind of spray out funky. But I wanted to spray it to let some of that color spread a little bit, and now I'm going to use my brayer to spread my gesso around. So it's gonna somewhat cover up those background layers, but also not entirely, and it's going to be a nice effect when it peeks through the paint that goes on top. So for my rainbow, I am going to use some Dina Wakley paints. It's not your traditional colors. I have Sedona, Cheddar, Olive, Marine, I think, yep, and Eggplant, and I eventually also use Fuchsia. So they're still more muted, so not like, I'm not a big fan of your bright primary colors. I don't like red. I've never liked red. I like pink, I like purple. I've just never really liked red for whatever reason. Sedona is probably the closest red I've ever liked, and it's kind of a burnt sienna color almost. So I'm just watering down the paints here and spreading them across in layers like a rainbow. And even though these colors are more muted, to me, when I'm done, it feels so bright. And maybe that's because I've been using colors that are more muted for a while, and even more than this, or maybe because it really is just it's bright, like, whew. But yeah, I really like how the marine and the olive mix together. I like how the cheddar and the Sedona mix together, and I think eggplant and marine mix well together as well. So I really like, I like using all of these colors together normally, just maybe not all, you know, like this. So even though it has the possibility to make mud, I want some drips to go down, because I think it's cool where you have the color from up above crossing into the colors down below and just sort of mixing a little bit. Yeah, I've always loved drips. But now I'm going to take this stencil from StencilGirl and use the sun part, because, you know, can't have rainbow without the sun, and stencil that with some white fluid acrylic. I didn't like how the edge of the stencil made it kind of cut off, so I tried to eventually put some like white acrylic and just like paint it so that way it looked like the sun rays were continuing to go and like fading out. That way it didn't look so harsh. So now I'm taking a turquoise scribble stick and I wet it, and I also wet this stamp that I had carved, and I'm going to kind of stamp it everywhere. I could have used watered down acrylic, it probably would have shown up better, but I actually like, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, you know, in the video or the pictures, but if you were actually looking at the journal in person, I like the way that the puddles dry. They are different than acrylic. So I like that look when they're dry. So I'm gonna try to do this. I thought my stamp kind of went with the rainbow theme, and here I'm just kind of getting off all of that wet scribble stick that was already on there, just getting it off on a tag to use at a later date. But I am gonna take this tag, which came in our little goodie bag from Peacecraft Love, and I have all these watercolor rainbows that I painted for Fodder School that I would really like to use as a focal point on my tag. So I'm going through those and kind of seeing which ones, like which sizes and colors look good, and then I'm going to make a little focal point out of this tag using some collage papers. So I pulled out some of the newer collage tissue papers from Dina Wakley Media. They have these brush strokes that are in curves that look like rainbows or give you that feel maybe of a rainbow. So I thought that they would go well with the theme for the month. So now I've gotten my tag where I want it. I decided on this rainbow as my focal point, and now I'm going to put it on the page and kind of audition different things to finish off the focal point for the page. So now I'm getting this all glued down, and I used some heavy matte gel medium to glue everything down so that it would hold on to it really well instead of just something like a glue stick or like a fluid matte medium. And now I'm going to take this Tim Holtz chipboard quote and use it as my sentiment. To me, rainbows go along with dreaming and travel and springtime, and just they remind me of, you know, things that you dream about coming true. So I felt like this quote went along with the theme really well. So now I'm going to try and make sure that the left side of the spread doesn't feel too left out, and I'm going to also repeat that cardboard that I put on the tag. I want to kind of repeat that in a couple places so it doesn't seem super out of place. So I'm going to make a couple little collage-y areas on the left side to kind of help out with that. So these X's are some collage tissue that I painted. I have been really kind of obsessed with the X's or crosses as like a focal point or like a background point for my collages recently. So I decided to try to incorporate them here, especially because you have that harsh edge, like I said, from the sun rays that I really kind of wanted to cover up. So I'm going to use the collage tissue and put it in a couple of different places again, so it doesn't feel like it's just randomly in the middle of a page. And so I just kind of spread it out a little bit more. So this is the point where I looked at it and said, holy crap, this is super bright. And the X's were kind of, the edges of the collage tissue were kind of sticking out a little more than I had wanted. So I decided to try to take some instant coffee and use that to sort of tone down some of the colors. And I guess, like, watching it back, it doesn't look super bright, or at least as bright as I felt like it did. And I don't know if the coffee helped at all, or if it more hurt. I don't know. But I decided to go in with some journaling with my fluid acrylic in the fine liner bottle and just write some things. I'm pretty sure I wrote about how the page was so bright and I didn't know if I liked it. And I put that in a couple places, again, just to balance everything out and make sure everything kind of was cohesive. I also took my paper towel to sort of blot out some of the writing so it wasn't so stark white against the color, which I think did really well. And then also used the coffee a little bit to sort of, again, make sure it wasn't such a stark contrast. Finally, I added my black splatters with my DecoArt Media Mister. It's essentially just very watered down black paint. And that was it. I hope that you enjoyed the process for this. I love the background. I love that you could see some of the things peeking through that I did, and I really loved the theme for this month, and I hope you do too. Make sure to play along with us. Use the hashtag MMMMAR22 on Instagram and YouTube to tag along with us. If you'd like to be a guest artist, fill out the application. The link will be in the description box below so that you can do that, just so we have your information. Don't forget that we have the Mixed Media Menagerie kit available from Peacecraft Love. The link to that will also be below. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope you will play along with us.